Every once in a while, I'll stumble upon an oddball game like Verse Collection that, despite being interesting, leaves me feeling rather indifferent. But upon revisiting the game for this review, it's proved to be better than memory served. Bottom Up's Saccharine Quadrathlon Verse Collection is a neat grab bag of various minigames that found itself a home on the Super Famicom in 1996. From the title, it should come as no surprise that this series of minigames is meant to serve as a platform to challenge your friends to an all-out brawl. And serve its purpose it does, as you and up to 2 other players, although in some cases only you and a buddy, can go head-to-head in a multitude of ways. The first of our 4 games is an egg-themed puzzler, where you snatch eggs and drop them on corresponding colors to make chains. The minimum to break things down is 3 of a kind, but as in any competent puzzler, the more chained, the better. I find stacking to be the easiest method of clearing lines, but horizontal lines will suffice as well. Alternatively, since you can grab eggs from anywhere in your stack if you pull the right one and things fall into place, you could have another chain on your hands. The concept bears a striking resemblance to one of my favorite puzzle games, the awesome Money Puzzle Exchanger for the Neo Geo. So it should come as no surprise that I had an absolute blast with this one, and it's my personal favorite of the bunch. Get ready to kick some ice! It's in the next minigame where 2 warring armies hurl as many snowballs as possible at each other for 30 seconds until one is crowned the victor. Each player takes a side which can be controlled en masse, like when dodging to the sides by pressing up or down, or by pressing X to jump. You can also control individual characters by putting the cursor on them and demanding that they charge towards the enemy's line. When doing so, make sure to launch your onslaught of snowballs by pressing B. This mini real-time strategy snowball fight manages to be surprisingly nuanced and at times quite intense. For example, your firing squad won't always have munitions at the ready, as they have to make new snowballs after every throw. And to do so, you have to stay still, effectively leaving you a sitting duck. So you better hope your opponent is low on birds or ammo while you pack snow. Not to mention that the different birds have different characteristics, like the king who can fire a 3-way shot, although he doesn't quite have the range that the others do. Considering that this is for a minigame collection, I'm shocked at how well this turned out and the amount of little details that went into it, and because of that, it makes for a fun time. The third event is none other than some gnarly Mode 7 racing. And right off the bat, I'll say that sadly, this is no F-Zero. Hell, it barely contends with Astro Go-Go. The controls suffer from icy physics, and this won't be the last time they do. Add to that the stiff steering that doesn't bode well with the tight turns you're required to make on some courses. And as you can imagine, this makes for a frustrating time. Or at least it does against the CPU. With a friend who has to muster through the controls with you, it's a little different. And by different, I mean at least you get to enjoy your friend's suffering. Lastly, we have a game that is sort of like a mashup between Joust, Smash Bros, and Bomberman. Each player has the ability to jump and kick their opponents, with the goal being to knock the others into the pit below to gain points. But you must do all of this before time runs out. And if you take too long, the game isn't afraid to let you know by raining fire and brimstone on you. Survival is key in this one, and I won't lie, it's a bit harder than it ought to be. Despite the platforms looking like flowers, they're actually made of ice as you constantly slip and slide all over. Which I know is intentional as to up the challenge for everyone, but if they put so much effort into the puzzle and RTS minigames, I wish they could have spent a little more time with this one. I can see the really awesome minigame this could be if they cleaned up the physics and built a slightly deeper fighting system. But as it stands now, it's probably the worst of the bunch, meaning it's playable, but only with friends. So, is Verse Collection worth your time? Well, it depends. By itself, I think the game just scoots past being mediocre, as it touts 2 very solid minigames that one can enjoy by themselves or with friends. Not to mention the OST is surprisingly catchy, sporting more than a few tunes that had me humming right along. Plus, the bright and cheery color palette never leaves space for a dull moment. That being said, This is a game made with multiplayer in mind, and is best enjoyed that way. So if you're lacking a player 2 or 3, I might recommend you pass on this one and instead give Goldfish Warning or Chibi Maruka-chan a shot. But if you've got some buddies to game with, I'd consider picking up the game as it tends to go for pretty cheap. So if you and your gaming buddies need a new challenger, why not give Verse Collection a shot? Hey, thanks for watching. If you like this episode, consider checking out these other videos right here, or even subscribing. Also, if you'd like to throw me a couple of bucks, you can support the show on Patreon.